This right now, head baseball coach of the Bulldogs on the Farm Bureau guest line. Check out favorites.com and go with the home team, Mississippi Farm Bureau. 3 different type games over the course of the weekend. You got kind of a classic Friday night SEC match to start. And Chris, we always appreciate your time. Let's start there. A 2-1 win on Friday. You get a run in the first. You add one in the 7th. Oklahoma gets 1 run in the bottom of the 7th inning. I guess the story just has to be Pico Khan and how just dominant he was on the mound.
Well, I agree. I mean, that's what it came down to. And Luke Dotson, too. You know, Luke Dotson came in there at the end and dominated his 2 innings. And we just pitched at a really high level, played good defense, and got some timely hits. And that's how a lot of Friday night games can be.
Did you feel like their guy was as good, kind of matched Pico for the most part, pitch for pitch?
Yeah, that guy's going to go in the first half of the first round, you know, so he's as advertised. I forgot how many times we struck out, but it was kind of like a Rocky movie. We're trying to make him tired by throwing so many pitches, but it was mid to upper 90s with 3 different breaking balls for strikes. So it was a grind, and Pico matched him all the way.
And then in Saturday's ball game, you jump out, and then it just turns into a slugfest, and there's not enough there. Led in that ball game 7-0, and then Oklahoma kind of got the bats going. Just kind of walk us through the emotional roller coaster of that game on Saturday.
Well, you know, we play such a good fundamental game on Friday night, and we come out, and we don't get a great start, but, you know, we don't handle the baseball in the first 2 innings. And, when we look up, we're down 7-0.
Let me interrupt you. I screwed that up so bad, and that was really kind of you not to correct me on the fly. You could have said, Richard, you're a moron. What the crap are you talking about? It was Oklahoma that jumped out to the big lead, and then you guys really battled back. Sorry about that.
That's right. That's all right. But we did. We fell down 7-0, didn't play defense. You know, we got to take our starter out. You know, you're in that point of the game where you don't know if you're giving that game away so you can be good on Sunday. And, man, I give our kids a lot of credit. They came back, and they fought back, and we get back in. We actually take the lead there, 11-10 at some point. And then, we lose that game late, which we've done one of those each of the last 2 weekends. And that's the game that really, when you come back to it, you just so many things you look at that you could make a play here or there, and you get that game back. But unfortunately, we don't, and Oklahoma does.
And then what stood out for you yesterday in the series finale?
Yeah, it was just a classic, final game. I think they went up, we went up, they came back tied, and what happens on the Sunday game is you use a lot of your bullpen because you get an inning and a half start, and you just run out of gas a little bit there at the end. But, it was kind of weird because the Saturday game, the wind was blowing out about 25 miles an hour, and we took advantage of it. Some of our big guys got a hold of some balls, and then the next day it's blowing in 25. So, I felt like we hit some balls in that game. We just couldn't get much going offensively after the first couple innings.
Coach, looking at your defensive stats for the year, you've given up 19 unearned runs, I believe, and last year you gave up 21 in the whole season. Right. Defensively, from behind the plate, in the infield and the outfield, you're just having issues there. What can you do in the coming weeks to shore that up?
It's coming in spurts. So, unfortunately we lose, from the catching side where we really gave up some runs this weekend. Ross gets hit in the face on Friday night. And we just don't adjust to it after that. And then, there's a spot or two in our infield that we got to shore up. Outfield-wise, we've been very good outfield-wise, but we got to shore up our infield a little bit, especially up the middle. We just had one spot that's just got us, and I got to make some adjustments there. But we've had some, like I said, it's come in spurts, and then we go 2 or 3 weeks, we made like 1 error, 2 errors, and so. We're having them come, especially in that game. I bet you half of those runs came in that game on Saturday.
And then when you look at, from a pitching perspective, do you feel good about what everybody's role is right now, from the starters to the guys in the bullpen? Do you feel like everybody has a good grip of what their role is in this pitching staff?
I think they have a good grip of what their role is. I don't know if we're producing in our role right now. And so that's what we had a meeting this morning just talking about where to maximize each guy, because we have a couple guys that are doing a really good job and some that have done a good job at times this season, but the inconsistency piece is something we've got to really take a look at.
Visiting with Chris Lemonis, head baseball coach at Mississippi State. I hate to even ask this question 2 weeks into league play, but do you worry at all with a slow start about kind of where the team is mentally? Have you seen any of that, or are they just get after it, try and get back out there and go win some games?
It's always a piece of it. When you live in these SEC towns, baseball's big, and so there's a piece of that. We started slow and got going. We started slow and not got going. We're a grind of our league. I mean, we have, I think our first 5 weekends we got top 10 teams and 3 of them are on the road. We have to grind out and survive that, and I feel like the backside, we can do more damage, but we got to win 1 or 2 of these weekends here in the first half of the season to get us going and keep us in the mix.
Coach, what's the thing that your team needs to do this week to get better?
I think defense after this past weekend is probably the number one thing, but there's a point of where you got to win the game, and we're literally, I think we've lost 5 SEC games and given up 10 runs. If somebody told me that stat today, to where we got to win the game, and to have an alpha or have players that in those moments make that happen, and maybe as a coach making the right call in those moments, but giving us a chance to win, because it's obviously we've played 2 really good SEC teams, and we're in every game, but you got to win the game. And so we got to do a better job, and we got to win those momentum parts of the games. Right now we're not. We're giving up something late, or we're not taking advantage of it when it's our time to take advantage of it.
Tomorrow night, home game against Samford, 6 o'clock first pitch. You decided what you're going to do on the mound tomorrow night?
We're going Noah Sullivan. So. Okay.
Have you been pleased with what he's given you in those last couple of midweek starts?
Yeah, it's not plus stuff. It's just plus makeup. And he makes pitches when he has to, and the kids like playing behind him. He's just a really tough kid, and it lets us, get a mature start there and get us going for a couple innings, and then we can match up our bullpen. As this week's a tough week because we play Thursday night, so you're having to really be careful with your bullpen pieces.
And I was going to ask you about that, and I guess the answer doesn't really matter if you like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday scheduling piece, because everybody has to do it, and it started a few years ago for television purposes as well. Do you like that? And if the answer is no, how challenging is it?
You like it when you win. I mean, it's that Sunday afternoon's all nice. I learned my first year. I did a couple more than probably most teams did, and I looked up, and you just don't realize how much you're moving, especially that Friday night guy around. You just, routine's a big part of baseball, and that game takes you out of your routine a lot, and so for us, having to, bounce around, it's not my favorite, but I think it's like even myself. On Thursday night, we get to a hotel room. We're in Oklahoma, and, man, we're sitting there watching college baseball, and it's a good thing for our game and a great thing for the SEC. I don't think it's a great thing for the Friday night starters, and so I think that's the tough part. For the position players, it doesn't matter, but, it's a part of it, and we deal with it, and we prepare for it. But, like I said, the starting pitching makes it a little tough.
Coach, how confident are you in your team? We're only 2 weeks in. You got a long way to go. There's nothing off the table for you at this yet. But when you watch your team play, do you look at this team and go, we're going to get this figured out?
I do. I really do. I sit and watch. And like I said, 2 years ago we had a tough season, but man, we weren't competing. And right now we're just, we're literally, you walk off pissed every night because it's a play or two here or there that we have to make, and I think that's something that we have to correct, and it's correctable. And like I said, it gets multiplied when you're playing, the best in the country, which is what we do in our league every week, and we got to be able to fight through that.
Hey, last thing for you, based on what you said a second ago, are you going to hold Pico for Friday, or will you run him out Thursday night?
No clue,
okay.
Or I'm not going to tell you, one or the other. So we're trying to. We're trying to figure it out. We got back late last night, so we're heading to practice here in a minute. But we just got a feel for everybody. I mean, if he's ready to go, we'd pitch him. But I just got to get a feel. I just haven't seen him since we got back late last night. So Coach Parker and him will sit and talk and match him up the best way we can for his sake, for how he feels.
Coach, appreciate it.